can!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hello, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Now, comebacks are hard, and it's unimaginable when it's from a car accident that has mangled your body and completely destroyed your spirit. The Rishabh Pant story, from sleepless nights to a miraculous recovery. How did he get here? Stay on for that. If adversaries were a theme, then we are on track. Vinicius Junior is facing the brunt of it. From his effigies being burned to videos of fans calling him Chimpanzee being spread around. What is Vinicius' next step? How will the authorities stop this? And get ready for another chapter in the fire and ice rivalry. After Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, meet the new age gladiators in tennis, Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. What makes this rivalry so much more special, and who holds the advantage here? But first, Sports 360. We'll start with football. UEFA announced the fixtures of Champions League quarterfinals. Arsenal will take on Bayern, whereas Atletico will face Borussia Dortmund. On the other hand, defending champions Manchester City will fight it out with 14-time champions Real Madrid. And finally, Barcelona will face Paris Saint-Germain. Over in the Major League Soccer or the MLS, Inter Miami star Lionel Messi has sustained an injury on his right hamstring. The World Cup winner had to leave the pitch mid-game against Nashville. Messi is likely to miss Miami's next match against Washington, D.C. this weekend. And in the Europa League, Liverpool hammer Sparta Prague 6-1 in yesterday's round of 16 second leg. The English club won the first 5-1. With 11-2 aggregate, Liverpool are now through to the quarterfinals. Over in tennis, world number 1 Iga Swiatek has advanced to the Indian Wells Open semi-final. She was through after Denmark's Karolina Wozniacki retired hurt. The Polish had already won the first set 6-4 and was up 1-0 in the second when Wozniacki returned with a foot injury. In badminton, India's Lakshya Sen advanced to the All-England Open quarterfinals. Sen stunned Denmark's world number 4, Anders Antonsen, 24-12, 11-21, 21-14 in the round of 16 encounter. He's world number 4 is what this was a huge upset for him. He will next face Malaysia's Lee Zijia in the next round. Over in cricket, India's domestic side Mumbai beat Vidarbha in the Ranji Trophy final. Mumbai won the match by 169 runs after Vidarbha were bowled out for 368 in the second innings. Mumbai's Mushir Khan, Sarfraz Khan's brother, played a match-winning knock of 136. Also contributed with the ball right after. This is Mumbai's 42nd Ranji Trophy title win. Now, comebacks are tough. Any break of any sort just pegs you back. Coming back to where you once were after injuries or lack of form is very difficult. But imagine an accident where you are mangled and crushed in a car. You survive that, the most horrific episode, a near-death experience. How do you come back from that to playing competitive sport again? Back in the limelight, in the grime, to the grind and to all that pressure. It's almost like jumping out of a cauldron right into the fire. That's how Rishabh Pant would feel, having survived the car crash on December 2022 to now coming right back to competitive cricket. It's nothing short of a miraculous journey. When someone narrates a particular heart-wrenching story, you're compelled to say, I understand and I can only imagine. But Rishabh Pant's story has no baseline. It's a story that you can't possibly say you get what he went through. It's unfathomable. There would have been times when he would have felt like giving up, not really going on. I'm going to tell you about the different phases in his journey from the time he came with that knee bent to an impossible 90-degree angle to now, where he's tonking the ball at the net sessions and looking forward to getting back. The first phase was the most difficult, and you can imagine some of it. Coming out of a horrific accident, glass shards all over his body. There ought to be sleepless nights. The shards were clearly removed, so there were many weeks where Rishabh Pant wouldn't have been able to sleep. He couldn't sleep in one position for too long. He was in excruciating pain. He moved past that, soldiered on, and began the road to recovery. Just seeing him now, he looks leaner and stronger, and you have to be after you've come out of an accident that has damaged your knees and your ankles. They are your load-bearing joints. In simple terms, the most important for any athlete, more so. Your body weight is carried on these joints, so if he had to strengthen that, he would have had to lose weight, and a lot of it. He went from, say, a 90 kilos, that's close to 200 pounds, to something that looked like 75 to 80 kilos, or 165 to 75 pounds. That's incredible. So let me paint you a picture. When we walk, we must be able to carry a load of 1 to 3 times our body weight. When we jog, it's 1 to 5 times of our body weight. And when we run, it's anywhere between 8 to 10 times, depending on the intensity. So for Rishabh Pant to get here to play competitive cricket, he would have to work on the food he's taking in too, along with the strength and conditioning. The diet that he would have been on diligently would have played a critical role. In fact, he also isolated himself from everyone, took up a place, and BCCI made sure they had a team with him all through the way. Every step was important in this phase, and every small victory had to be celebrated.
The small things in life. When I started walking without crutches slowly, that was like one of my highs of the recovery period. Then I started slowly jogging. That was another high for me. Then I started little batting. And then I started keeping. I took joy in each and everything. It was not like I was looking for only one thing. If you don't enjoy whatever you are doing, it's going to be difficult for you.
He says he took joy in every little achievement, in every little celebration. From walking, leaving his crutches, to then doing what he can right now, which is running and being back to close to at least where he was when he left the sport. Now, to be able to do that, you have to be in a certain mental space. Such an incident can be damaging, can totally leave you depressed, and you would not be wrong to just give it all up. From being a superstar to not knowing whether he could come back again is a huge transition not many can really cope with. But what we hear from the different support systems in place that the BCCI and the NCA, who kept a close watch, say Rishabh Pant's resilience won them over. They said that this episode has made him a better human being, having a better understanding of life, of respecting the things around him, and that made him stronger. So patience is something he harbored, and he made sure that he kept the end goal in sight of coming back to competitive cricket stronger. In a press release that his IPL team sent out, he says that he feels like he's making his debut now, that it is like starting all over again, from square one, from the scratch. But what a feeling this is, a miracle recovery from the most impossible situation to now possibly playing for India at the World Cup, if all goes well at the Indian Premier League. But here's where the last phase of his recovery really kicks in. He's worked on his body, his mind, his temperament, and his strength. Now the task is to not just get carried away in the excitement of it all, and stay focused, because he's just out of the woods. The path here on is just as hard, but something he would want to make count. Keeping all his restrictions in mind, keeping in mind how it felt not playing with his teammates, helping them win a match or keeping wickets, just watching from the sidelines as they played on. That's what would inspire him to stay the course. Because as you reach one goalpost, the next should come into vision, and as that is with Rishabh Pant too. Now, what makes a sport more appealing? Utmost domination by one individual, of course, or teams and players giving each other a run for their money. To put it simply, what do you enjoy watching more, a rivalry or a one-sided supremacy? Now, I always enjoy rivalries more. Nothing is more exciting than not knowing who will win on a given day. Can you imagine La Liga without the derbies between Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, or cricket without the Ashes or age-long clashes between India, Pakistan, England and Australia? Or you can't, right? The same goes with tennis. There is beauty in individual rivalries. It brings the characters of the athletes to the fore. The personalities clash more than ideologies, as with teams. And that's what makes such amazing contests. It's time to speak about the new rivalry in men's tennis, the battle that is pitched as fire and ice, the new rivalry that has taken center stage and given us all enough excitement already. Jannik Sinner versus Carlos Alcaraz. On the one hand is a Spaniard, sort of like the man to carry Rafael Nadal's baton forward. He's the quintessential bull, the raging opponent. He's full of fire, and the way he plays symbolizes that. Carlos Alcaraz burst onto the scene with the reputation of one who doesn't give up, much in the mold of his predecessor. A player banking on his power. He won the US Open in 2022, not a shocker, hard combative skills on a hard court. A winner straight away. But it was when Alcaraz won Wimbledon in 2023 is when people started taking him seriously. Because not only did Alcaraz, a product of clay, won a title on grass, but he did so beating Novak Djokovic in a 5-set thriller. And that too at the age of 19. So yes, there has been enough excitement surrounding the Spaniard. So that's his strengths. What about the weakness or the challenges? His consistency. How fit can he be given the rigorous display he puts his body through? Much like his mentor, Rafael Nadal. If that is fire, what about the ice? Jannik Sinner has been a find, a super talent who is proving himself regularly on the biggest stage. He's another youngster, all of 22 years, but the kind of maturity and balance that he brings to the table is incredible to see. The Italian has been on the circuit for some time now, and he made it to the quarterfinals of the French Open way back in 2020, a US Open semi-finalist in 2022, and a Wimbledon semi-finalist the year later. Clearly, he was patiently chipping away before he made that big leap at the start of the year, winning the Australian Open in the most dramatic fashion. He beat Novak Djokovic on the way to a very, very thrilling, nail-biting final against Daniil Medvedev. And the weekend is going to witness these two superstars face off at the Indian Wells Masters event. How did the two get here? Carlos Alcaraz comfortably beat Alexander Zverev 6-3, 6-1 in the quarterfinals. Well, maybe not too comfortably. Their match was halted by a swarm of bees. Bees invaded the court in the 19th minute, forcing the players to run for cover, and it did get a little scary for a bit, but as soon as match resumed, Alcaraz went about it business as usual. Jannik Sinner too had a straight set victory over Czech Republic's Jiří Lečeka in the quarterfinals. The blockbuster semi-final will decide which star will be number 2. Alcaraz is currently holding that position and Sinner is number 3. But here's what happens when you compare the two. Sinner has had the most flawless year so far. He's won all 16 of his matches in 2024. That included the Australian Open and the Rotterdam Open titles. And in the Indian Wells Masters too, he hasn't dropped a single set just yet. And here's more cause for concern for the Alcaraz fans out there. Let's take a look at the head-to-head. Sinner has won 6 encounters where Alcaraz has won 4. And of course, if you compare surfaces, Sinner has the edge there too. So quite the contest this is turning out to be. The road to get here in this super showdown has also been adverse. Alcaraz has had a series of injuries that has marred his path to being consistent, something we of course mentioned. It's been over 6 months since Alcaraz last reached a final of any major tournament and close to 8 months since he last won a trophy. So if the pressure was going to be on one of the two, it will be on the Spaniard. But here's the one thing Alcaraz will be holding on to while he walks onto the court this Saturday, the memory of him beating Sinner at this very tournament last year and at the semi-finals. So if Sinner has the nerves of protecting his spotless 2024 record, Alcaraz will be fighting a head-to-head record that is not in his favour. So lots to play for and another delicious chapter in this rivalry waiting to unfold. In the era of equality, the world faces the challenging task of establishing certain norms. In the quest of achieving an ideal society, some of us continue to fall back to outdated narratives and hate crimes, despite advancement in thought and modern culture. One thing that still destroys the fabric is racism, a subject on which sports and especially football has been quite vocal about. One man in particular has been in the middle of the storm, and that's Real Madrid star Vinicius Junior. Even in a game where neither him nor his team were playing, a video posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, Atletico Madrid fans could be seen chanting a racist slur directed towards Vinicius. The incident happened before Atletico Madrid's Champions League game against Inter Milan. Vinicius, who leads FIFA's anti-racism committee, has urged UEFA to take action against the perpetrators.
Football, a game defined by pure passion. Passion shown not just by the players, but by the fans too. A game where fans are so involved that sometimes they cross the line. Sledging, criticizing and vocal banters are one thing, but racially abusing someone is quite another. And one individual who has consistently faced the brunt of it is Vinicius Junior. The latest is what happened before the Atletico Madrid vs Inter Milan Champions League game. In a video posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, Atletico fans can be seen outside the Metropolitano Stadium in Madrid. They're jumping and chanting Vinicius Chimpanzee. The video is outrageous and targets Vinicius rather boldly. Responding to the video, he tweeted, "I hope you've already thought about their punishment, Champions League UEFA. It's a sad reality. This happens even at matches I'm not at." Vinicius is clearly disturbed. Despite the incident taking place in the Champions League, Spanish football La Liga was quick to respond to the matter. In a statement, La Liga said it would report the incident.
La Liga is wholeheartedly committed to making football a hate-free space and will continue to work relentlessly to crack down on racism, homophobia, violence and hatred, whatever the competition, regardless of the fact that the match was played in another competition and that the chants took place outside the stadium. La Liga will report the incident.
This isn't the first time Vinicius has faced the brunt of racist slurs. The Brazilian footballer has faced insults ever since he came to play in Spain 6 years ago. And fans of their city rivals Atletico have often targeted the Brazilian. Atletico fans chanted, "Vinicius, you're a monkey," in 2022. But the Spanish state prosecutors failed to identify the perpetrators back then. The next year, in 2023, Atletico fans hung his effigy from a bridge in Madrid. The incident occurred before the city derby. The 4 men involved were fined $66,000 and given a 2-year stadium ban. On the same day, abuse aimed at him by Valencia fans raised even more concerns. Vinicius got a lot of support and forced Spanish authorities to take stern action. But that didn't put a pause to it. The hate has only continued as more reports emerged. Sevilla in October, Barcelona the following week, and at Valencia earlier this month. The racist chants and hate towards Vinicius has frustrated the footballer. He took to X to vent out his frustration.
I had access to a video of another racist act in this Saturday's match, this time carried out by a child. I am very sorry that there is no one to educate you. I invest a lot in education in Brazil to form citizens with attitudes different from these. The face of today's racist is plastered on websites as on many other occasions. I hope the Spanish authorities do their part and change the legislation once and for all. These people must be criminally punished too. It would be a great first step in preparing for the 2030 World Cup. I am available to help. Sorry to seem repetitive, but this is isolated episode number 19 and counting.
For how long will the Spanish authorities sit on this? Vinicius Junior is a star footballer, someone who can reach greatness, playing for one of the most prestigious clubs in the world. But let's keep that to the side. Such hate and racism ought to be stopped and this propagating it punished. Will all this force Vinicius to leave? He's tried to be tolerant and patient all this while. Vinicius himself says 19 instances and counting. How long before he snaps?
We're down to last serve. Now, how far will a fan go who's in adoration of a particular sports star? Meet Jake Lee. He's a diehard fan of baseball player from Japan, Shohei Ohtani. Now, you'd probably just collect autographs or even watch his matches or travel somewhere, but he goes the extra distance. He even to the extent of owning some of the brands and wearing some of the brands that his super sports star endorses. Take a look. That is some commitment, going to even own the car brand that he endorses and drives it every day. But yes, thanks so much for staying on to Firstpost, where we bring such interesting stories to the fore and much, much more. See you again next week. Have a lovely weekend. But till then, take care.